Africa's coups. Power should be public, not military. In a moment of seismic political and social upheaval, Gabon has become the epicenter of a swirling controversy that pits democratic ideals against authoritarian tendencies. A military coup has unfolded under the banner of restoring democracy, even as it seeks to dismantle the pillars of governance in one form or another. At the heart of this paradox lies a recently concluded election, the results of which have been hotly disputed. The consequences of this coup resonate far beyond Gabon's borders, casting a somber veil over the very concept of democracy in a continent beleaguered by historical and systemic governance failures. The dawn of August 30th, 2023 marked the dramatic commencement of a coup, unfolding with a poignant blend of irony and palpable desperation, as the military group known as the Patriotic Movement of the Gabonese Armed Forces (MPIGA) claimed to have seized the reins of power. The streets of the capital filled with the strains of a national anthem sung in collective defiance rather than in support of the call by the ousted President Ali Bongo Ondimba for public noise in his favor. This contrasting response by the populace, a blend of quiet resistance and vocal dissatisfaction, not only underscores the depths of disillusionment, but also highlights the quandary that confronts many nations grappling with fledgling or faltering democracies. Unpacking this episode requires delving into its roots. Widespread public distrust in governmental institutions, exacerbated by electoral results that, if upheld, would extend the single family's rule over Gabon for an outstanding 55 years. Such long-standing dynastic governance, along with allegations of corruption and electoral misconduct, have corroded the people's faith in the very institutions designed to empower them. When foundational structures meant to ensure public participation and representation falter, they create a vacuum, an emptiness all too readily filled by authoritarian measures. The irony is manifest. The structures built to ensure a democratic voice can become the catalyst for its apparent overthrow. The unfolding events in Gabon also underscore a broader, more troubling trend that plagues democratic efforts across Africa. In this continent marked by a history of colonialism, economic challenges, and governance issues, the Gabonese coup serves as a microcosm of the delicate state of democracy and the ease with which it can be subverted. The question that looms, unsettling yet unavoidable, is whether the act of upending a flawed democracy can ever pave the way for a more legitimate and robust one. In the tension between the ideal of governance of the people, by the people, for the people, and the grim realities that often distort that ideal, Gabon stands as a case study that commands both our attention and our introspection. Gabon's historical legacy, cycles of governance and discontent. As Gabon faces a political crisis that throws its governance into question, one can't help but consider the historical forces that have shaped the current moment. Emerging from French colonial rule in 1960, Gabon's journey towards self-governance has been far from smooth. Despite its abundant natural resources, particularly oil, the nation has long struggled with unequal wealth distribution, political corruption, and social unrest. The prolonged rule of the Bongo family, which began with Omar Bongo in 1967 and continued with his son Ali Bongo Ondimba, has been a focal point of public discontent. Under the reign of the Bongos, Gabon has teetered between showcasing itself as a bastion of stability and grappling with internal disillusionment. Historically, the Bongo family has adeptly balanced maintaining international alliances, particularly with France, and navigating the murky waters of domestic politics. However, the recent events have laid bare the growing disillusionment of the Gabonese public, whose demands for greater political inclusivity have reached a boiling point. Accusations of electoral manipulation and corruption have become commonplace, and underneath the veneer of stability, a tide of public dissent has been rising. It is essential to note that military interventions are not new to Gabon. Though previous coup attempts have not achieved their aims, they do signify deeply rooted public discontent. These interventions can be seen as symptoms of a much deeper societal malaise, including a youthful population hungry for change, economic disparities that persist in spite of the country's wealth, and a civil society that is increasingly vocal against political repression and corruption. The coup's ripple effects have already started to be felt beyond Gabon's borders. It stands as a symbol of the tenuous state of democracy across the African continent, which has struggled with issues of governance, economic disparity, and post-colonial identity. Global organizations like the African Union and the United Nations face a dilemma: how to respond to a crisis that challenges the core principles of democracy while also recognizing the unique complexities of each member state. The situation unfolding in Gabon is not just the story of a single nation caught in a moment of crisis. It represents the broader challenges facing Africa in its quest for governance that is both effective and truly representative of its diverse populace. As Gabon navigates its way through this tumultuous period, its experiences may serve as lessons, cautions, or even inspirations for other nations grappling with the complexities of governance in the 21st century. In this sense, Gabon is both a case study and a cautionary tale. Its current crisis, a chapter in a much larger story that encapsulates the struggles and aspirations of a continent. The poisonous cycle of military rule. The scenario playing out in Gabon is neither new nor unique within the African context. It is a disquieting chapter in a long narrative of military interventions across the continent. The all too common cycle tends to unfold in the same way. Public disillusionment with corrupt or ineffective leaders reaches a tipping point. The military intervenes with promises of rectification, and yet what often follows is either a slide into authoritarianism or a return to the very corruption the coup purported to eradicate. These interventions are seldom the solutions they claim to be. Instead, they often exacerbate existing problems and create new ones, plunging nations into economic and social turmoil. World Bank data paints a grim picture of the economic aftermath of coups. Countries that experience military interventions frequently see a significant decline in GDP growth rates, not to mention the socio-political costs that are harder to quantify but no less devastating. And it doesn't stop at economic downturns. Coups often trigger international sanctions, a move that compounds the problems by significantly reducing foreign direct investment, thereby worsening poverty and inequality. The ripple effect is palpable. Lower investment means fewer job opportunities, diminished social services, and a general decline in living standards.